Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast with Pranav VK with us today. He's CEO at the Intraday Expert, live from Bangalore. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. And this podcast is brought to you by podpar.com. That is my podcasting agency. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast. Pranav, welcome to the podcast. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about the Intraday Expert.
Thank you so much, Charles, for having me on this podcast. So, the Intraday Expert is basically an education consultancy firm helping people into learning trading in the Indian stock market so that they can become financially independent and create an additional source of income through trading.
So, why trading? I speak to a bunch of folks that tried trading and lost a bunch of money. Why do you think that is the main way to get rich in 2023?
It's not about getting rich in 2023. That's the wrong misconception that people have. Trading, even though you do it on the shorter term, it's about compounding your money on the long term, right? There's something called as law of large numbers. So if you have a system in place wherein you have proper risk to reward ratios and higher probability of profits, that is when you actually make money on the long term. So if you're planning to make profit on every trade that you take, then you mess up your psychology. But at the same time, if you have a system in place, then you'll be able to, actually stick with your system and play the long-term game.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not about making profits on a daily basis, but is trading one of the best ways to get rich in this day and age?
So what happens is, first you need to have your personal finance at check, having an emergency fund, having your insurances in place. And, in a country like India, where insurances is not mandatory, a lot of people do not have these insurances in place and directly come into trading. So that messes up with their psychology and they end up not getting very good results. But then when you have these emergency funds and insurances in place, and also a long-term investment in place, and then coming into trading, you're able to grow your money in both places. So are you aware of pledging in the stock market where you pledge your long-term portfolio and then use the same capital for trading as well?
No, I'm aware of folks making their portfolio public so that you can sort of mimic them, like in the eToro days, which I was part of. But yeah, what is pledging?
So basically what happens is, let's say you have a mutual fund portfolio of, let's say, $1,000 or maybe $10,000. Then you pledge this to the broker itself and the broker will be holding it in his name. But at the same time, he will allow 80% of this cash to be given out back to you into the trading account so that you can trade using that money. So now you're growing your money in the mutual fund as well and as well as in your trading account. And let's say your mutual fund is giving you around 8% returns year on year and you're able to make at least 1% per month through trading, then that's a cumulative 20% that you can make instead of just the 8% or just 12% separately, right? So with the same capital, you're able to grow money in two places. That's pledging.
Interesting. And you were working at Bosch as an engineer. What led you to leave that job in 2021 in the COVID days, I believe?
Yeah. So when I was working at Bosch, 6 months into joining the company, I realized that 9 to 5 is not for me. Even though the job was really good, the atmosphere was really good, the work was good, but then I felt a lack of satisfaction in what I was doing. Right. So that's why I decided that I wanted to come into finance, and now my why is very strong that I need to help other people become financially independent because that helps people have a better quality of life, right? So that's the reason.
Right. And okay, so what has your trader business has allowed you to do so far in terms of wealth? How has it changed your life, and in terms of freedom?
So it's not just about wealth, it's more about your location and time freedom and the capability of doing what you want at your own pace and time, right? So it has given me more time with my family and the same time has allowed me to have multiple sources of income apart from having just a single source of income, that being a salary, right? So even a person who is in a salaried person can also have multiple sources, but then you don't have that time freedom and location freedom because you need to visit the office and at the same time you have to work 9 to 5, right? But then when it comes to having trading as one of the sources of income, and having multiple sources through rental income and my trainings. So now what happens is automatically you decide when you want to work, when you don't want to work, when you want to take a vacation, and how big of a business you want to handle. It's totally in your hands. So that's the kind of freedom. And more importantly, it has given me the confidence and clarity as to I can earn from anywhere. And irrespective of whether I lose my business or job or whatever it might be, I have the confidence that I can earn at any given point of time. So that's the more important part.
Right. And you say that you're an adventurer. So what kind of adventures do you embark upon?
So I've done 5 Himalayan treks till now. You're aware of the Himalayas?
Obviously.
Yeah. So I've done 5 Himalayan treks till now, 5 summits. So ranging from 12,000 feet height to 16,000 feet height. The last adventure that I did was also bungee jumping in Rishikesh. So bungee jumping is one thing, and then scuba diving in Lakshadweep and Andamans. So yeah, couple of things like this. And I keep doing treks in and around the state as well.
Right. And how do you manage your stress when you lose a bunch of money trading?
So the best way to look at it is whatever decisions you make in trading is to be looked at on a logical basis. So there are 2 ways of making a decision. You either do it based on an emotion or you make it based on data. So when you start making decisions based on data, automatically the emotions are set aside. But then when you have losses in place, the best thing to do is reduce your position sizing and at the same time taking a break. And during this break, do things that you love, and especially physical exercise helps a lot because, like Tony Robbins says, if the fastest way to change your emotion is by motion.
What kind of fitness regimen do you have?
It's on and off, but more or less 3 to 4 times a week I go for a jog and I hit the gym. So I love running or jogging more than the gym. So that's what I do.
Cool. Relationships, how do you manage them, and what is your philosophy on relationships in life?
So with relationships, the number one thing that comes to my mind is 100% communication, transparent communication, honest communication, and being respectable towards each other, especially your better half, right? Irrespective of what the situation is or how difficult the situation is. And even though you know that the other person is not going to like what you want to say, it's better to be transparent about what you have done because that is going to make your relationship stronger. It's not about being happy all the time, but instead, it's better to have that transparent, honest communication where both of you understand each other. And there's a quote that says, if you cannot say no within a relationship, then you'll have to say no to the relationship, right? So sometimes you will do things that the other person won't like, but then being transparent about it and open about it and communicating beforehand helps. So I think communication is the rock bed of any relationship that you're supposed to have.
Right. And how do you balance entrepreneurship, relationship, and adventures? What is your time management or productivity strategy here?
It's definitely a challenge because sometimes when you're focusing too much on work, your family time goes down, and sometimes you're focusing too much on the family and relationships or friends, and then your work comes down. So it's definitely a challenge, but I try to manage it in such a way that I keep specific times and I use Google Calendar to pretty much plan out my days beforehand. I use this technique from this book called The Deep Work. Have you heard of Deep Work book?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that book, there's this slotting method where you slot out the day beforehand so that your time is valuable, right? So you're putting in the efforts, not randomly, but then on a focused way. So in that way, you're able to manage both your professional as well as personal life. Easier said than done, though.
Right. Yeah. Deep work can be interesting, a version of it, not like the classic version, which is to kind of be by yourself and crunch in some work, because I prefer filling my brain with data, to have a better and more powerful work and energy deployment. So I don't believe in spending time by myself in hermit. I believe also in speaking to people and researching and being a bit ADHD, but also deploying that energy in a focused way every now and then. for you, what would be the main challenges that you went through this year, 2023?
The biggest challenge this year has been identifying the bottlenecks within the business when the profits start going down. Because your fixed costs are always there when you're running a business. And then if you don't identify the bottleneck soon enough, then you'll have to start digging into your savings and emergency funds for running the business, right? So not reducing on the fixed costs when it was supposed to be done, when the revenue started going down, was the biggest challenge. And I am just overcoming that right now.
Right. And for 2024, what would be your top goals?
So the top goals for 2024 is building a consistent revenue machine within the business. That's number one. Second thing is building a strong team that can take care of the business even in my absence. So these are the top two goals that I have for 2024.
Right. And your team right now, is it only yourself, and what are the other facets of the business? Because you trade, you teach people how to do so as well. Like, split for us, like, your income per category of efforts of yours in the business.
So we have like 4 people full-time within the team. And we have 3 other people who do part-time, like freelancers, who help us with marketing and all of these things. And everybody is remote. They are in different parts of the country. So not even one person is within Bangalore. Everybody is in different parts of the country, right from south of India to north of India. So that's coming to the team. And when it comes to the income, so I don't consider my trading income to be a part of my monthly income or my yearly income as well, because that is something that I'm looking for compounding for the next 5 to 10 years. So I don't use that income for myself. And when it comes to training income as well as rental income, majority of my income comes from there, helping other people trade as well. Yeah.
Cool. Any tips that you have for us folks that are starting in business? What would you tell a new entrepreneur in terms of mindset on how to start his business?
Yeah. So I follow Alex Hermosi. You must be knowing Alex Hermosi a lot, right? So I do follow him a lot. And the on top of my head that comes to my mind is cash flow. Always keep a check on your cash flow, because sometimes we try to, go away from it, looking at more profits and all of that. But end of the day, cash flow is more important than anything else in the business. That's number one. Second thing is never give up, because you will always feel like giving up at some point of time because of the hardships that entrepreneurship brings with it. But then eventually, like Alex says, eventually the business will work out if you don't give up. So never give up. This is the second thing. Third thing is always have a fine balance between your work as well as life, because end of the day, it's not just work. Life is very, very important, and don't let your work consume your entire life. So these would be my top 3 suggestions or recommendations.
What other books are you reading right now that you'd recommend?
Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. That's one. And one more book that I would recommend is, once you are a CEO or a business owner, right, you want to hire, right? There's a book called Why. Have you heard of that book? So
which one again?
who? Sorry, not Why. Who? WHO.
Yeah, I might.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, because Money Master Game, I've read it, was sort of boring, but yeah, let's see that other one.
This one.
Oh yeah, I also read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
give
the
me the
10X
summary
rule?
of that one. Yeah, 10X is really old. So like, what is the main lesson in the who one?
So basically, apart from having like a funnel for just having clients, you need to have a funnel even for getting the right kind of people within the company. And you need to ask the right questions to understand what is their why, because it's not about their skill all the time. It's about the visions that you guys have together and the culture that is more important than their skill. So if they have the right culture and less skill, you can always educate them to increase their skill set. But then if you have the wrong culture and if they are really good at the skill, then your entire company is going to have issues with that person, and eventually the entire team is going to get affected. So I think this is the main learning from why. And when it comes to the 10x rule, the thing is that whenever we have a goal, we should 10x it and then try to find ways to get there. So the way and the thought process and the wiring your brain is going to have is going to change drastically when we do that, right? So these are two books that I would recommend. And for Indian folks, I'm reading this book called Let's Talk Money. So it's a person by Monica Halan. So she's one of our top writers in finance world in India. So if you're working on personal finance, so this is the book that I would recommend.
Thank you so much for that, Pranav. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about me on my YouTube channel, The Intraday Expert, and on my website, theintradayexpert.com. Yeah, as well as LinkedIn. I'm always available on LinkedIn, Instagram. We have all social media channels, so that they can definitely find it out. In Google, if they search The Intraday Expert, my website will be on top.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. That was Charles Cormier for another CEO Wisdom Podcast.com with Pranav VK.